Hello, this is Professor Laird, and welcome to the Spring 2021 semester. I hope everyone is staying well and being safe. This is a general introductory video to all of my online courses. The criteria for all of the online courses and the grading requirements are pretty much the same for all my online courses. So what I wanted to do is do a general video that covers those basic requirements. And then I will follow that up with a shorter video that specifically talks about your particular schedule in your class. So after you watch this video, watch the supplementary video that talks about your particular class schedule. There's some things that we need to talk about in this general introductory video, particularly as far as your participation level. We've been seeing that the online instruction, the general levels of performance aren't as good as they are with the in-class courses. So there's going to be some things that I'm going to need to get the points across to you very strongly here before you start the course. Now, before I get into that, let me go ahead and talk about what's required for your participation in the online course, and then we'll come back and talk about some other things that are very important. So let's talk about the online course participation. It is very important. This is not a self-paced course. This will not be a course where you can just come in and out whenever you feel like it. We will make this as interactive as we can possibly make it on a daily basis. It's imperative that the students access their particular platform, whether it's Moodle or Blackboard, every day, and their school email every day. Whenever I send out an announcement from that particular platform, it will go to your school email. So that's why you need to check that on a daily basis, because if you don't check that, you won't be getting the announcements, which are pretty important to stay up with the schedule for the course. Now, this class will be given through video lectures. I want to treat this class as much as I possibly can like a course that we're meeting on campus. So what I'm going to do is post a video lecture on that particular topic. You'll be looking at your own individual class schedule in the next video. Those videos, lectures are posted each Monday and Wednesday. We're going to treat it as though each Monday and Wednesday is the class day. Those videos will be posted typically by 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. Each Monday and Wednesday, there'll be an accompanying discussion forum where I will post a discussion question posted typically by around noon, and each student will have to enter into the discussion forum and respond to that question or contribute to that discussion, whatever that may be. The deadline to respond to each of these discussion forums each Monday and Wednesday will be 9 p.m. that evening. That's the deadline. So this is how the attendance will work. The attendance for the class will be taken through the responses to these discussion forums that will typically be having to do with that day's video lecture. If you fail to respond by the 9 p.m. deadline for that day, and they're going to be posted each Monday and Wednesday, you will be counted absent for that day. Just as I would in a regular course that we're meeting on campus, if you don't show up for that class, you'll be counted absent. If you don't respond to the discussion forum by 9 p.m. that evening, you'll be counted absent. Just as I would in a regular class, each absence will result in a deduction of 5 points from your attendance grade. Now, this is not from the final grade. This is from your attendance grade, which, as we'll see in a minute, is 15% of your final grade. Also note that a discussion forum response could also have additional points deducted for failing to follow the instructions of the forum. Following instructions, following directions in college courses is extremely important. That's part of your learning process. Or if you fail to watch the video lecture before responding to the discussion forum. You can't just go to the discussion forum and respond without watching the video lecture first. You have to watch the video lecture in its entirety before you respond to the discussion forum. As I said, attendance and participation will total 15% of your course grade. It is your responsibility to keep up with the lectures and discussion forums. That's why you need to check your email, look at the Moodle or Blackboard platform every day. Keep up with what's going on. The forum will be closed at that 9 p.m. deadline. If you miss that deadline, that's it. There's not going to be any extensions. There's not going to be reopening it back up. So students are not to email. If they miss the deadline to the discussion forum, we're moving on. We're going to the next class after that. Do not send an email requesting to open the forum back up and respond. I will not respond to those particular emails. The discussion forum might also be a group exercise that could require some communication or interaction within that forum between students. It's fairly flexible. Students can respond to each other or post a general response. Even though there's no right or wrong answers to a discussion forum, points will be detracted for repeating the same response that a previous student has posted. So you will want to read the previous posts before responding. We want to increase the variety of responses on these discussion forums. This is part of the exercise. You read what other students have posted, and then you post something that's not repeating what they said. Occasionally, the forum could also be in somewhat of a pop quiz format where I would open it up in not the discussion forum format, but in the quiz format where students would answer the questions and they would not have access to the other students' responses. So in summary, to the online participation, deadline to respond to each discussion forum is 9 p.m. each Monday and Wednesday. Those are the days when the video lectures will be posted. Any assignments that I assign that will typically be due on the Mondays and Wednesdays, they must be posted, particularly paper assignments, as we'll get into here in a minute. They will be due by 9 p.m. as well on that day that they are due. You would also be counted absent if you do not turn in an assignment by that deadline. Whenever we have a test, we'll talk about tests here in the next section. The deadline to complete the test, to finish the test, and it'll be timed tests, will be 9 p.m. the day that those tests are scheduled. All right, now let me reiterate a little bit here about our participation. What I call this is the online dilemma, where we're seeing that the online instruction, again, I would much rather be in the classroom talking to you in the class and seeing all your faces out there in the classroom. Believe me, I love teaching this material, and I would really prefer to be in the classroom setting, but we have to make this work. We're going to have to deal with it for at least another semester here. And what we're seeing is that there's somewhat of a dilemma here in that this online instruction puts a little bit more burden on you to keep up with the material, to actively participate in the material. So one thing that I will say is that if you are not prepared, if you're not willing and able and committed to put as much time, and I would even argue even more time, into this online course than you would in a classroom class where we meet on campus, where you have to drive to the school and sit in the classroom for an hour and 15 minutes twice a week. If you are not willing or able or prepared or committed to spend at least as much time, probably more time, than you would in a regular class, then you're not going to do well in this class. I can't stress that enough. Like I said, I want everyone to take this class and enjoy it and get something from it. I will guarantee you that the material that you learn in this class will be useful no matter what major you plan to continue on in, or whatever classes you take. This will be useful information, and I hope everybody sticks with it. But it also hurts me to come along at the end of the semester and see how many students have not been keeping up, have not prepared for the tests, have not been entering into the discussion forums, and they end up with failing grades. And we're seeing a higher percentage of failing grades because of students not actively engaged into this online course. So I have to stress this. If you are not willing and able and prepared and committed to put the time required into this class, I would suggest that you don't take the class. Again, I hate to say that. I want everybody to take the class and enjoy it. But if you're not going to put your full time into it, it's actually surprising why you would invest the initial time and money to start the class and then not fulfill the requirements and not fully participate in it. I don't even understand why anyone would do that. So I can't stress that enough. You need to be prepared. You need to be committed, willing, and able to put the time into this online course to fulfill the requirements in order to do well at the course. All right, now let's talk about a couple other things. As far as the tests, there will be at least 3 online tests during the course covering 4 to 5 chapters each. So the classes are broken up into thirds generally, with test at each third of the way through the class. Tests will account for 60% of your total grade. These tests will be open book and open notes since it is an online test, but they will be timed. So students will need to be prepared. However it is you prepare, I would recommend that you take notes from the video lectures. You'll need to be prepared for that test before you start it, as you will not have time to look up the answers during the test. I would treat these online tests exactly the same way that you'd treat them if you were taking it as a closed book test in the classroom. I would want to be fully prepared for it. The tests will typically be 35 minutes long. That will be plenty enough time to do well on the test if you're prepared for it. The test could include multiple choice, matching, fill in the blank, true, false, short answer, short essay questions. The short essay questions will require the student to demonstrate some fundamental understanding of what is being asked. So simply just copying and pasting a list of bullet points that are shown in the lecture will not suffice. For any assignment, do not copy and paste anything. As I said before, failure to complete any test by the required deadline will result in 0 points for that test. It's the student's responsibility to communicate with the professor if there is an issue. One of the things that will hurt your semester is if you just don't show up, just like in a classroom, if you don't show up for the test. If you just don't take the test and that 9 p.m. deadline passes, and then a couple of days later you say, I guess I need to take the test. It doesn't work that way. That's inexcusable. I'll repeat that. That's inexcusable. That can't happen. If you miss a test without any communication to the professor whatsoever as to what your problem is, and as of today, you will know exactly what day those tests are going to be taken, and you will know exactly what the deadline is. You already know right now it's 9 p.m. that evening. You already know that as of today. So there's really no excuse for you to miss a test if you already know 3 months in advance what day and what time that test is going to be taken. If you do not communicate and you miss the test, there will be a 0 for that grade. Let's talk a little bit about the paper assignment. In each class, students will choose a current topic that's required as far as what your subject is. Early on, you will look at the schedule. Generally right after the first test, a 1/2 page summary of that topic will be due. This summary will describe what you want to write about and why, and should include one credible news source to help describe how you've learned about that topic. If the topic summary is not received on the day that it's due, once again, meeting deadlines, following instructions, the student will be counted absent for that day. Students may be asked to resubmit the summary if their topic is not clear or specific. Now, there's no penalty for that. We just want to get this topic locked in. That's a fairly specific topic and that everybody is kind of spread out. I don't want everybody writing about the same topic. I'll tell you right now, the pandemic, that's not going to be the subject of your topic. You will pick a different topic, and then, of course, you could talk about how the pandemic has influenced that particular issue. Your topic needs to be approved before we move on to the paper. That's why it's very important to meet deadlines, because if you don't, then that'll drag you further behind as far as keeping up with the paper assignment. Because at some point before the paper is due, relatively early on, I'll be talking about peer-reviewed academic journals, and you'll be asked to show me some sources of what you found so far in the proper formats. These videos that I post in addition to the content lecture will also talk about the paper, the requirements of the paper, the peer-reviewed academic journals, which will be so important. So failure to turn in any assignment by the required deadline will be treated the same as an absence. So towards the end of the semester, 4.5 page paper will be due. Look at your schedule to see when that final paper is due. The papers will be attached to a form in the Moodle or Blackboard platform, and you'll attach it as a Word file. This enables me to put comments on your paper and get it back to you. More convenient to do it that way. It needs to be in a Word file. The format for all paper assignments will be double-spaced, 12-point font, Times New Roman, 1-inch margins. So following instructions is the first most important criteria for any assignment. Also goes for the paper. There will be a minimum of 6 references for your paper, and of course, as we go through the semester, I will talk about that in more and more detail as to how to find your references and how to cite them, how to put them on your bibliography. But importantly, at least 4 of your sources will be from peer-reviewed academic journals. And as I've said, this peer-reviewed academic journal process that we talk about is so important that I'm using an acronym for it, PRAJ. So whenever I say PRAJ, you should know immediately I'm talking about peer-reviewed academic journals. Again, more instructions will be provided on citing your sources and on quotes. Generally, the paper will be an objective, critical analysis of the issue. A guide to writing your paper will also be posted that has useful information on writing a more interesting and informative paper. Keep in mind, this is the important part of learning how to write critical objective analysis. The paper is not for the purpose of you to express your opinions. It's not for you to tell everyone how right or wrong something is, or how good or bad something is, or what you think about this. That is not the point of the paper. The point of the paper is for you to look up and read credible sources about that topic and to demonstrate what you have learned from your readings. That's the focus of the paper. Read a lot from credible sources and describe what you've learned. Do not copy and paste under any circumstances. Students are graded on their ability to gather interesting, useful information from these credible sources and display their understanding of that topic in their own words. That's when learning really occurs, that you read useful, interesting, credible, legitimate information and then explain what you've learned in your own words. That's very powerful. One general comment here about the honor code, particularly for online classes, we have to be very observant of this. Just as with the in-class courses, any form of cheating will not be tolerated and could result in expulsion from the school. Students will not communicate any information regarding the tests. Now, I will open up a discussion forum prior to the test where all the students can post questions and I can respond to the questions in this open forum so that we can share information and learn about if there's any questions about the test. Once that test period starts, the discussion forum is closed and students will not communicate at all during that test period. As far as the papers go, each paper will be that student's own work. Keep in mind that whether it's for the tests or the papers, any suspicious similarities between any student's papers or test answers would warrant an investigation. Plagiarizing your class paper from any source is forbidden. Be sure to cite your sources for quotes and for all the paraphrasing that you're going to do from that material that you've learned from. Once again, do not copy and paste anything under any circumstances. One final note about the grades. Generally, all the classes will have 3 tests, and those will account for 60% of your grade. Keep in mind, this is extremely important because every student is treated the same. You have to keep up with the schedule. You have to know when the tests are, and you can't miss the deadline. Because there are no makeups, there's no extra credit, and there's no extensions on any of the tests. As far as the paper assignments go, those paper assignments will be 25% of your grade. There is a late penalty if you turn it in late, but keep in mind there are no incompletes for the course. As far as participation, I've already mentioned that participation is 15% of your grade. And once again, there's no extensions for the missed forum deadlines. Okay, that's the general introduction to the syllabus for all of my online courses. And again, I have to be very straightforward and upfront with you here as far as what's required for the class. I love teaching this material. I enjoy teaching these classes, but also keep in mind that there's going to be a little bit more burden on you to keep up with the material, to actively participate in the course, know what the schedule is. So immediately following this general introductory video, check out the shorter supplemental video that's talking more specifically about your particular class's schedule.